know how we've had a number of political science professors and strategists say, right now, if you have any extra money, it's a good time to donate to the lawyers and the legal organizations that are fighting tooth and nail to undo some of the worst executive orders we've seen in our lifetime. One of those organizations is called Democracy Forward. It's nonpartisan. It's a national organization, and it promotes democracy and progress through, in part, litigation. Skye Perryman is president and CEO of Democracy Forward and joins us now to talk about some of the work that they are doing. Skye, welcome to our broadcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, I want to start with, if you don't mind, the effort you are making in court against the things that DOGE is doing, and I know you've had some successes. Please tell us about that.
Well, look, let me say this before we even get down and talk about DOGE. Just as I was getting on your show, we had a great ruling out of the D.C. Circuit today. We're alongside our friends at the ACLU. We are seeking to block the president's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act, which is that wartime power where the president is trying to summarily remove people from the country without any process at all, and the government has just lost its bid at the D.C. Circuit to stay or to pause the lower court's injunction that was blocking that wartime power. So we're real grateful for that, which is truly breaking news, probably breaking as we're talking. But taking a step back, I mean, we have been in court every single day since inauguration because this administration is really running roughshod over the American people's rights. We haven't seen them take any kind of effort that's making the American people's life easier. In the early days of the administration, the president, consulting with DOGE, sent out a memo suggesting that, or one of his agencies sent out a memo suggesting that they wanted to freeze essential services across the country, the national funding freeze, which put everything from Meals on Wheels to Head Start at risk. That came out in the middle of the day and was going to go into effect the next day at 5 o'clock, and our team stayed up overnight and got into court the next morning and blocked that freeze, which is enabling people across the country to get the services that they need, and that order has stayed, it stayed in the court. So that's been one of our successes. We have had a range of cases where we have had to sue DOGE and federal agencies because the president is enabling Elon Musk and unelected, unvetted people that are with DOGE to have access to people's personal information, and we were able to win a court order last week to block Elon Musk and DOGE from accessing people's personal information at the Social Security Administration. So that's all of our, everybody that has a Social Security number has private information there. And we're also using the courts to find out more facts. We have in several cases where federal judges are making the government show up with sworn declarations, with witnesses. We're going to be deposing some of the people in DOGE to really learn what's happening since the administration keeps operating in secret outside of the American public.
How do you decide what? I mean, there's such a fire hose of stuff coming at us. How do you decide where to focus your efforts?
Well, our commitment is quite simple. If this administration harms people and breaks the law, we're going to make sure that people are able to use the courts to stop them. And so we work in partnership and in community with a lot of organizations and with our state AGs and so many others. So we're always making sure that somebody is on the case. And in many instances, that's our team here at Democracy Forward. So we will go to court, whether it's to protect people's privacy rights and the privacy of their data, whether it is to protect houses of worship. We're in court right now on behalf of religious communities, the Baptists, the Quakers, the Sikhs who've had to go to court, and we want a court order to keep ICE from coming into houses of worship without any sort of standards at all. We're going to be there where people and communities need us across the board. We sued earlier this week to stop the decimation of the U.S. Department of Education, which is not only something that is unlawful, but also doesn't help anybody in the country. I mean, how does this help average Americans to have the U.S. Department of Education decimated? So we're going to be there. That's our promise and our commitment to the American people.
What are you expecting the next court decisions on? Is there any way to tell? I mean, I know that everybody can appeal and there's delays and we need, another week on this, but you must have some sense of time. What are the nearest court decisions that you're looking at?
Well, there's a range of these cases. I mean, the cases with respect to public education in this country, the Department of Education, another policy that the administration outlined in what's called a Dear Colleague letter that's threatening public education funding and education funding across the country. We expect that we will hear from courts in those cases. We're filing these motions for expedited orders. So those are happening. This case that I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, where this is really something that should concern every single American in this country, the president trying to use a wartime power when we are not at war to summarily deport people without any process at all. Just to be very, very clear, that could be any of us, right, could fall prey to this with how they're operating. We did just get a decision out of the D.C. Circuit, but there's a range of additional motions in that case. So I think that's a good case to watch. And then, of course, in that case, there are real questions about whether the government has even complied with the court's orders, which I think will be important to watch those developments. And then in our DOJ cases, I think that you'll see a range of orders as well. We've already won some, but the courts are also trying to take their time and figure out what's happening with DOJ. And so I think the American people will start seeing more court orders with respect to those issues as well.
Skye, maybe you can explain something to me. Clearly, I'm not a lawyer, but clearly even I know that some of the executive orders that Trump is writing up and signing have no basis in law. Oh, yes, I think I'll write an executive order that says no more birthright citizenship. Why are these I know we can go to court and stop them, but why are these executive orders that are clearly illegal being implemented? Why are the people who are in charge of carrying this stuff out not saying, can't do that, boss? Sorry, boss, can't do that. It's not legal. Why is that not happening?
Well, this is by design, because this is a president that doesn't want to have to operate as we operate in the United States, in a national community with laws and constitutional protections. And so what he did almost starting day one was started trying to fire civil servants across the government. These are people that work and advise administrations, Democratic administrations, Republican administrations. They swear an oath to the Constitution and not to any particular political ideology. And the president doesn't like those civil servants. And Elon Musk doesn't like those civil servants because their job is to advise and to really be motivated by the law and by the well-being of the American people.
But even getting rid of the civil servants, how is that legal? Like they were like, oh, USAID, we're getting rid of that. Everybody go home. You're all fired. Yeah. You're all laid off. Oh, and the court's going, wait a minute. That's not legal. Bring all those people back. You can't do that.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's why we're in court so much. And that's why when people ask us, how do you decide what to go? We're going to go on every single thing that is harmful to people and that is unlawful. So we're quite busy right now. But this is just president wants to operate. And I do think that the firing of the civil servants, I want to say, is something that should concern all of us, because this is showing that the administration doesn't want to be constrained. They don't want to be constrained by the Constitution or by the courts. But they also don't even want people within the government to help them govern better. At one point, they said that they didn't want, quote, unelected bureaucrats. That you can't really take that seriously anymore when what they've installed is unelected oligarchs, right? They've installed the Doge people, and so like this is not their story doesn't add up. And but the good news for people, and I know it's hard, and there's a lot of people getting hurt right now, and it's hard to find hope. But the good news for people is that we and others are on the front lines every day stopping this bad conduct in the courts, and the courts across the board are doing what they're supposed to do under our Constitution and stopping and checking the executive branch when it violates the law. And that's happening from Republican judges. It's happening from Democratic nominated judges. We've seen even judges that the president himself has nominated slow the government down here. And so that is the good news right now for people. And so we want you to watch the courts and watch what's happening there.
And we are also going to be watching what Democracy Forward does and the success that they have pushing back. Skye Perryman, President, CEO of Democracy Forward, one of the organizations that is fighting to keep our democracy actually a democracy. Skye, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. All right. Talk to you soon.